Few questions are as old or as universal as this one: what happens after we die? Across cultures and civilizations, humans have imagined some form of life beyond death. An afterlife, reincarnation, or continuation of consciousness. Religion, philosophy, and personal experience have offered many answers. Science approaches the question differently. Rather than asking what we hope happens after death, science asks what can be observed, measured, and tested. And when examined through that lens, the picture becomes both clearer and more limited. From a biological standpoint, death is the irreversible cessation of the processes that sustain life. The heart stops beating, oxygen no longer reaches cells. Brain activity fades. Within minutes, neurons begin to lose their ability to function. The brain is central to this discussion because everything we experience as self, memory, personality, awareness, emotion, is tied to brain activity. Modern neuroscience shows strong correlations between specific brain regions and specific mental functions. When those regions are damaged, aspects of consciousness change. Memory can disappear. Personality can shift. Awareness can fade. From this evidence, science concludes one core idea: consciousness depends on the brain. When the brain permanently stops functioning, science finds no measurable mechanism by which consciousness continues. This does not mean science claims that life after death is impossible. It means there is no empirical evidence that consciousness survives the death of the brain. Much of the discussion around life after death focuses on near-death experiences, often called NDEs. People who come close to death sometimes report vivid experiences, tunnels of light, feelings of peace, out-of-body sensations, or encounters with loved ones. These experiences are powerful and meaningful to those who have them. Science does not dismiss them, but it explains them differently. During extreme stress, the brain undergoes chemical changes. Oxygen deprivation, neurotransmitter release, and disruptions in sensory processing can produce intense, realistic experiences. Similar sensations can be induced in laboratories using drugs, electrical stimulation, or extreme conditions. From a scientific perspective, near-death experiences occur while the brain is still functioning, even if only partially. They do not demonstrate consciousness after death. They demonstrate how the brain behaves near the edge of survival. Another area often discussed is energy. Some argue that because energy cannot be destroyed, consciousness must continue in some form. Physics does say that energy is conserved. But consciousness is not a form of energy in the physical sense. Thoughts, memories, and awareness are patterns of neural activity, not independent energy entities. When the system that sustains those patterns stops, the patterns disappear. This distinction is important. Conservation of energy does not imply survival of identity. From a scientific viewpoint, death represents the end of subjective experience. There is no verified observation of memory, awareness, or identity persisting independently of the brain. However, science also recognizes its limits. Science can only study phenomena that can be observed, measured, and tested. If something exists beyond physical measurement, science cannot confirm or deny it. It can only remain silent. That silence is often misunderstood as denial. In reality, science simply says, we do not know, and we have no evidence. Interestingly, many scientists and philosophers note that the absence of evidence does not necessarily remove meaning. Human experiences of connection, legacy, and continuity do not require literal survival of consciousness to matter. From a scientific perspective, what clearly continues after death is impact. The atoms that make up our bodies return to the earth. Our actions influence other people. Ideas persist. Knowledge accumulates. Culture evolves. In that sense, life continues, not as individual awareness, but as contribution. Some modern thinkers argue that the question of life after death may be less important than how we live before it. Knowing that consciousness is finite can make life more meaningful, not less. It emphasizes presence, responsibility, and empathy. So what does science say about life after death? Science says there is no verified evidence of consciousness surviving the death of the brain. It explains reported experiences through neurobiology and psychology. It remains open to new evidence, but does not speculate beyond what can be tested. What science does not do is tell people what to believe. Questions about meaning, purpose, and hope often exist beyond the reach of scientific measurement. They belong to philosophy, personal belief, and culture. Science offers clarity about the physical process of death. It does not claim to own the final answer to what it means. And perhaps that's where the subject remains most human, balanced between what we can prove and what we continue to wonder. If you enjoy calm, thoughtful explorations of science and big questions like this, like the video and subscribe to Talking Tech. You can also visit https://talkingtech.com/closing parenthesis https://talkingtech.com/closing parenthesis to read similar stories in written form.